Hello, everybody. As promised, we are back today on Esoteric Atlanta with the lovely, beautiful Janine in Canada and the very handsome Tom Numbers over in London, our real journalists, the real news, the people who know how to communicate with the divine to tell us what's really going on, even though our intuition already has given us a bit of a clue. These two really help connect the dots for all of us, and I know you guys love having them on. I love having them on because I get to hear the news along with you guys. So welcome, Janine. Welcome, Tom. Got a lot going on.
Thank you, Bryce.
So who wants to
Thanks,
get
Bryce.
started?
Thanks
Yes.
for having us on again.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So where should we start? Should we start with George Floyd? Should we start with the funeral? What should we start with? Where should we begin?
Goodness. Okay, so I gotta say, I haven't even been watching the George Floyd thing because it's such craziness. It's like crazy making. It's got to be a big movie. I mean, my question, I don't know about you guys, what you want to question about it, but my question is, do the judge and the people in the trial know that it's all a facade? Like that the whole thing's made up? Do they know that? Like,
That's a good question to ask.
Ask the cards. I would say they must do, but ask the cards, yeah.
Somebody even put a picture of George Floyd, supposedly, who's supposed to be George Floyd, just before he got down on the ground, okay, and he has kind of a shadow of hair, and then he's completely shiny bald. So between the time he's standing up and he's gone down, he had his head totally shaved and waxed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, really? What kind of people would agree to do a whole trial? Are they all just actors? That's what I want to ask.
Crisis actors, especially one as volatile as this has turned out to be. My favorite thing with that, what happened last year was this was right when the whole we'll call it house arrest started, and everybody was completely covered, but nobody in the picture is covered, or nobody in the video is covered.
Yeah.
And check out the gas prices. Those gas prices weren't current.
There's nothing about it that makes any sense.
Nothing at all. So why don't we ask that first? If they're in on it, or if they're just been completely had their brain scrambled as well and think this is real.
Yeah. Good.
While you're looking, Janine, at the cards, I did the numbers on George Floyd. So George is 57, which is Moon, which is England, which is Mary, which is also Tesla. And interesting enough, Floyd is 62, which is Shot, Queen. It's also Nikola. So actually George Floyd on the good side is Nikola Tesla in terms of the numbers. Also, and that word comes to 119, which comes to Central Park. We know things started there at the beginning of lockdown last year. But also on the bigger grandiose is it comes to the word redemption, which is 119. So we know things are simultaneously happening. So you've got this going on there here, but then you've got the good stuff happening, in reverse. Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll see what happens, how far this Floyd thing goes. But at the same time, redemption is coming, So it'd be interesting to see what the cards say.
So it's definitely a manipulation. Can you guys see that? Mm-hmm. Seven of Swords, the famous Seven of Swords, so the smoke and mirrors, and swords are thoughts and words. So it's all been manipulated, thoughts, words, and pictures in this case, right? Because swords are that element of visuals, words, verbal, and thoughts. So this guy's manipulating all of that. So it's a big manipulation. About half the people, maybe even more. So this is six of this and half a dozen of the other kind of card. So a lot of them know it's all a facade, but some of them don't. So they probably got people mixed in there that actually bought into this, that this is a real trial going on. Okay, so that's interesting. So they got it all mixed in there. Okay, and this was a created, so the whole thing was a created incident to create something. Okay, well, I'm thinking, disruption between groups, right? Yeah. So they're picking on,
They want to
certain
start up.
community event, right? The cops picking on the community. They're just trying to, create something. So it's this is a created thing, of course, right? And this card's actors. So I said, well, who's, I in particular asked about the judge and or higher ups in this, right? So the important people that are going to make the decisions, actors. We might even, if we looked closely at these people, we might even find they're in the acting guild, which we also found this cop that they're, this fake thing is about, and George Floyd apparently were in the same acting guild together.
Right.
So we're going to find these some higher ups in this, in the likely actors as well.
Same with Sandy Hook. A lot of the parents for Sandy Hook were all in the Actors Guild.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Well, maybe to follow up on that. So there on the military back channel, the 16+1, there is a Hello George.
Yeah.
Does that have to do with this?
Look at that. Also, as well, when you're looking at that, Janine. Oh, sorry. Go on. I was just going to say, so when you pulled up the first card, 7 of Swords. So I just did the numbers on that. So 7 is 65, comes to Prince, comes to Florida, comes to Andrew, comes to a few things, but Swords is 98, which is independence. Of is 21. When you do 21 plus 98, that comes to 119, which comes to George Floyd. So when you said of Swords, comes to George Floyd, redemption, Nikola Tesla on the good side of things. So it's interesting. We just mentioned those numbers, but then part of that came up in your first card, which was 7 of Swords, which was interesting. So I just noted that. But yeah, let's look at Hello George. Yeah.
And you mentioned the moon. Okay, originally when you looked at the numbers, the moon is death. So he was obvious. The actual person was apparently, they discovered, passed on a long time ago. And they used his identity.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're using his identity. So it's like interesting. And the moon card's also about illusion, delusion, and martyrism. And in a way, Tesla was sort of a martyr, in a way. Martyred, sort of. And I think they were trying to martyr, obviously, George Floyd. Or the idea.
It's half moon right now, isn't it? It's half moon.
Yeah.
Right now is a half moon.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And it's crazy that they would even be that sick to find somebody who had already passed away. And to they're so sick. These people are no good normal person would ever contemplate doing this charade to hurt people and to do like it's unbelievable. The level of psychotic, it's just evil, pure evil. So
Hello George is great. Hello George is very good.
So let's look at Hello George. Does that have anything to do with George Floyd?
Yeah. So you just said the military back channel. I mean, when I post it on my video, on my channel, I don't mind saying Q. So hello, it comes to 52, which interesting enough comes to Sinai, where the peninsula is, where the whole Evergreen and Bitter Lake thing has been going on. It also comes to heart. It also comes to earth. George, as we know, is 57. Add those together, comes to 109. 109 is a beautiful number because it equals the word 17.
Wow.
Which is cute. Yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. It also equals Diana Spencer.
Huh.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. It also, interesting enough, equals my channel Site Club. It also equals Zapruder. So the JFK film back in the day, the optics on that in '63. The Zapruder film. Zapruder comes to 109. So it's a super potent number in terms of the military back channel and 17 and Hello George. Yeah, it's perfect. It's boom, it's right on point.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in regards to, we were asking, does it, because I specifically asked the cards, does it literally relate to the George Floyd situation that was coming up, because it was likely posted before that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this card is literally about gossip and innuendo, so signaling. And yes, absolutely. So it was foretelling something coming, foretelling something coming. It was planting a seed, or, you know, so
Yeah.
people would think George, and then they see the George Floyd thing. And then they'll go, if they're paying attention to that back channel, they're going to go ding, ding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
What do you think about this? If there were, when the first things last year about George Floyd came up, there was a thought that maybe the first arrest might be George Floyd. You know, he might appear. So, and that, I don't know, but maybe, hello, George. What does, any thoughts on that with the cards? And anything you want to tell us on that?
Say that again.
So when the first optics on George Floyd, the case happened last year, when we, you know, during lockdown, etc. So there was a thought after that perhaps the first, you know, when Q says the first arrest will, you know, shock the world.
Oh, right.
So there's a thought that perhaps, maybe, I don't know, it might be an option, it might have changed, I don't know, but perhaps the first arrest may be George Floyd. You know, they'll show that this actor guy is alive, you know. So I'm wondering if there's any thoughts on the cards, you know. Is there
To show that it was all, interesting.
Would it be the actor?
Yeah, maybe he'll be the
George, though?
Maybe he'll say hello, you know, literally be like, oh, hello, George, you're alive. What happened here, you know?
Because it would probably be the actor playing George.
Yeah. Whatever that optic is. So the guy that was, you know, was shown in the film to be, you know, handcuffed and stuff.
Yeah.
Whoever that is. Because he's got a twin as well. They put out that he's got a twin, conveniently.
Yeah.
You know,
interesting, because in the past, I do have a twin. So the story of the twin. So because of the story of the twin, and I don't think it's true actually, but because of that, people are going to say that's his twin. Okay, so we've got, so it'll be hard. So.
Oh, I'm losing you guys. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'm gonna try to fix that in the editing process, but we totally just went down. So
I saw that.
Sign of things to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep going.
We're going to find out the truth. So this says, down the road, it's not time yet. We're going to know the truth about it.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
I'm not
But
sure.
not time yet, but it's coming.
I would say no, he's not going to be the first one arrested.
He's not going to be.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's not what the cards are getting anyway.
Okay, cool.
So regarding the George Floyd case as well, I have some questions about Maxine Waters. Have y'all gotten the news about Maxine Waters and her involvement in this? So she's a big political person here in America. She's, in my opinion, a troublemaker.
Yeah.
And she basically has just gotten called out because she incited violence. Like literally, this is what makes me really pissed off, because they claimed that number 45 incited violence in January when he told everyone to be peaceful. And she literally is on video inciting violence, and they're trying to let her go. But the judge, there's a video, and I think I posted it on my Instagram today, of the judge telling, I believe he was telling the defense attorney that this trial could be overturned because of what she did. Now we know that the military back channel says, hello, guys?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, we're here.
I got kicked off again. Okay, here we go. I don't know what happened there. Well, the military back channel has said, watch the Waters, and her name is Maxine Waters. Is
she spelled, Bryce, is she spelled as in water, S, or does she have an L in the name?
With W-A-T-E-R-S.
Okay, and then Maxine, M-A-X-I-N-E.
Maxine Waters. So I want to know if she has some involvement in this, or is this the Waters that we need to be looking at? Sometimes I think the Waters could mean a lot of different things, but
I do too. What about that newscaster on Fox News, Waters?
Yes, yeah.
Jeffrey Waters, yeah.
Right, like all these people with Waters, the last name. I like, how interesting is that?
Yeah. Very interesting. I mean, I know it's not that uncommon of a last name, but that's a lot of last names to be floating around in this one little world, you know?
Yeah. So she's on the dark side. Is that what you're wondering? I
Yeah.
feel like she might have a bad habit with the party drug we talk about that starts with an A.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's in a lot of hot water. Yeah, so this is like she's sweating here. So she knows they know about her. Like she's been somehow served some kind of information. The heat's on her. The heat's on her.
And so she's probably reacting in emotion and therefore doing stupid stuff because that's what humans do when they freak out. They do stupid stuff.
I even think she's quite high up, ranking in sort of the dark cult, as I call it.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I feel like she's a nasty piece of work. I'm going to just say that. Just everything's like it's nasty and fighting for her survival right now. She knows something's up. Like they're they know they're in this war. They know.
Oh yeah.
The war is with that bunch, really, right?
Yeah.
Against the whole world. So they're like clawing just to survive. And some of them obviously have jumped ship, and like Doug Ford in Canada, he's been puppeted completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you have on Maxine Waters, Tom?
So it's interesting. So her number. So did she do this yesterday, Bryce?
It's like the day before yesterday, I believe.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, there's so for everybody watching, if you're from the United States, you probably saw it because it's been everywhere. But if you're not from the United States, you can actually Google it and it'll come up. It's been everywhere of her literally calling for violence. So, which I mean, she's been in our government for a really long time. This is not acceptable. Period.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Well, it's interesting. So her numbers. So Maxine comes to 66. And there's a bad side of that and there's a good side. 66 comes to freedom. So if she's been turned and she's like fighting for her survival, as Janine has said, then her second name, Waters. So Water is 67, which is reset, exchange, peers. We've spoken about him before, but make it a plural takes you to 86. 86 comes to the word 19. Hence I asked about, when it exactly was, and we did the whole thing of 246 years ago on the 19th of April was when the revolution and 1775. But if you add 66, so if she's a puppet now for the White Hats, which it seems like she could well be, 66 plus 86.
Would she know she's a puppet for the White? Does she know that the White Hats are like using her since she's
I don't know. I'm not sure, but the numbers, if you do the numbers on it, so 66 plus 86 comes to 152. And I immediately see there 15 plus 2 because 15 plus 2 comes to 17. Q. So it's interesting. She could be, she could perhaps be having to do President Trump's bidding,
She's under duress with it.
Yeah.
So she's doing that. This is the same card I got for Prince Harry. I got like after Scott McKay came out and said Prince Harry was a white hat. You know what I mean? I had to look at it, so I did a reading on it on my show there the next day, and I got that under duress and desperation, he went over to that side after not absolutely being on the bad side. All of his life. She might be the same.
Yeah. So interesting. I was just looking at when she said that, Tom. And so it looks like she might have made those controversial comments, as they're calling it, on Sunday. But 8 hours ago, or yesterday, sorry, I'm trying to figure out when this time was when the judge basically was like, this is going to screw the whole case up and it's going to get overturned. By that comment. So it is, I think it does have that April 19th energy there.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. She is a piece of work. I have not liked this woman for a very long time. She is a piece of work. I believe she was the one that told people that if you know somebody is a supporter of tea of 45, you should kick them out of your restaurant and not serve them.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I've never in my life seen anybody do that for like someone who has opposing political beliefs. Usually it's no big deal. You come in, you're welcome, it's fine. But yeah, she was part of that aggression towards number 45 and people who supported number 45. So
yeah, but number 45 and team behind him, and really more like the backup team behind him. He's just the front is what I always keep reminding people, and a good front, and it's a great. I'm happy, but I'm just saying, don't forget all the incredible military behind him, and
all over the world,
White Hats, the Alliance. Anyway, what was I saying? I know.
I've got a question about President Trump.
It would just be really, really, really like hard, because Mr. T was coming after him, as the front guy was coming after all of their livelihoods and their entire culture, shutting down. So basically, literally war, and that's why they were reacting so aggressively against him. There's no other explanation. He was going to.
Thought she would never lose.
Their whole livelihoods and their little bad habits and their disgusting addictions.
Yeah,
that's why.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because again, they thought she would never lose. They thought they had it in the bag.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
But the
Janine, what do you see in regard? Can you look at the White House? Like it's short-term future. Can you have a look at the White House?
Literally, the White House? Okay.
Yeah, the literary one in Washington. If we see anything with that, is that gonna change? Something gonna happen there?
The White House. So that's my deep state card.
Okay.
Hilarious. Okay, move it out of troubled water. So the White House is transforming from, or moving out of troubled water from being owned by these guys or being operated by deep state. So moving out of troubled water. So it's getting cleared out energetically. So that's interesting. The past. That could be about law and order. That could be, this is a lawyer card. This could be a legal card.
You don't see anything physically happening to it?
Okay, let's keep looking. And we've got a whole bunch of secrets around it. So there was the whole thing that was really going on was really kept secret. It was supposed to be this safe sanctuary for goodness and balance and law and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't at all. It was secretly belonged to the deep state. Okay, and even the way it was designed. And we've got this, they're going to transform it maybe into something else. They're going to transform it, and it's going to take time. And that's our Mr. T card, right?
So there might be a need for a renovation of some description.
Yeah, maybe overhaul even. And then this card says, eventually, he's going to, like this guy or the people that he works with, kind of thing, that group is going to change it so it gets changed energetically and on all levels, maybe, because this is like death to the old way. So they must have, if you think about it, if that's a dark cult building, which it likely is, okay, it's got spell cast even in the brick laid, you know what I mean, or whatever. The stones are placed a certain way, like it's not cool, right? Think about the Vatican. If you look at pictures of actually an aerial view and stuff, it's all spell cast. It's like horrifying, right? So, and the Pentagon, right? Is it scary, actually? So if that's all been created by deep state, which it looks like certainly the White House was, they have to change it from the ground up, because this part says death to it and rebirth. It's got a rebirth as something totally different, maybe.
So does that mean they're definitely going to maybe closing out DC entirely and moving the capital to a different location? DC's
gotta go. Yeah, they gotta go. Even though it's hurt, a lot of people might not like it. It's gotta go with that Three of Swords.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Maybe the White House would be a new White House put somewhere else that's more purified. And I know I've heard people say that DC was literally built on top of a swamp.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
I know, right? It's literally like training here. I mean, literally. So yeah.
So maybe it could be physically taken out biblically in a way, maybe to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
It looks like it'll change, like, because the death card changes slowly but surely, and it's never the same again.
Okay.
It rebirths as something, could even not be used as a government building, because it's rebirth. It's death to what it was and rebirth.
Yeah.
That's what that card means.
Okay.
Amazing.
I've got another question in regards to President Trump. So there's an amazing time travel series on YouTube by a guy called called Jetson White, and I'd highly recommend people to look at it. And it talks about President Trump and the Kennedys and time travel and Tesla, and it goes into it very in depth, and it's a really beautiful YouTube series to watch. But the opening episode points to a Q post, and it has President Trump's date of birth, which is 14 June, so 14/6, 1946. But it says Q, and then it's got the identical date of birth, but it says Q plus. So it points to the thing that there's two Trumps. And you've talked about how sometimes you've seen Trump and it doesn't, it's an actor or someone else coming in. And I've been aware of this for a while, and I've my own understanding through the numbers, and not through a religious belief, but just in terms of what we're in. I guess you could call it spiritual or just a conscious kind of feeling and understanding about it. And the things that they pointed to, particularly in the Q post, is that would say real Donald Trump and POTUS are two entities, two different people, but one in the same. And I would even suggest perhaps one is a fatherly kind of figure of the two, and the other one is kind of the son. And if you do the numbers on it, so Donald Trump comes to 138, which comes to revaluation, comes to the words the savior. Trump comes from a line of Christ, so his father, his grandmother, and his great-grandparent all had the middle name Christ or maiden name Christ. If you do the numbers on POTUS, so the title POTUS comes to 91, which comes to liberty. It comes to, interesting enough, spirit, like the spirit world, but it also comes to the Father. So you've got the Father, and then you've got the Son entity, Donald Trump, the Savior, etc. So I wondered what the cards said on that, because I do think they're very much one and the same person, but when you physically look, you see a slight difference. And there might be other Trumps as well. There could be a number of them. There could be a number of doubles, or for protection, etc. But I always feel there's at least two main characters as Donald Trump.
And I apologize, there's sirens going off like crazy in Atlanta right now. So if you guys can hear that, I apologize.
Can't hear it.
Yeah, I can't.
Page and 4. Weird. Okay, it looks like there's definitely four Trumps. Likely has something to do with fears of death threats in the past, because we've got the moon in the past. So what brought that on? I feel like because he had a lot of death threats and even near-death situations. And now there's two main ones. So one's really independent. Interesting, they come up both as feminine cards, so it's kind of weird. Okay, so I often get the Empress around Trump too, so that's interesting, very interesting. Queen of Cups here, so we've got the Queen. One's more introspective, one's more outgoing, one's more sort of assertive, and almost like an Aries energy to her, because she can be a spring card. And one's a little more introspective, caring, and maybe even more of a family person, and cares a lot about health and people's health. So she could be like that. So that's interesting. So we've got the 10 and the 4. They're keeping it from the public though. So these two are at the bottom. keeping it from the pub. This is like, a lot of people don't know, even people close to Trump might not know. There's, we got so many doubles on the go and stuff. But I feel like they need to, for various reasons.
That's interesting, Janine, because the thought of at least two main ones, and then you said, you know, at least four. So when I first kind of noticed this, I noticed this, but then I saw the backup with the Q post on the Jetson White time travel series. So I was like, oh, that's confirmed, you know what? But even the word Space Force, so Space Force comes to 91 as well, which comes to POTUS. Now, the one that I believe is POTUS, if you look at anything on Space Force, in the Oval Office is POTUS. He's in my understanding, he's the more kind of fatherly figure, maybe even off-world, but his eyes are slightly turned up when you look at it. And he seems to be one that quite often will have the orange makeup, but there seems a bit of a difference on that as well sometimes. But his eyes kind of go slightly up. Whereas the real Donald Trump, maybe the more family one, I think the one, if you look at the clip when he talked about revaluation and he joked about RV and taking Melania back to New York, I think that's the one that's real Donald Trump, maybe the actual father. I say father, the fatherly man, but in my understanding, it would be maybe more the son character. But his eyes kind of smile downwards. So you can see the slight differences. But if you look at the videos when anything about Space Force is in the Oval Office, you can see it very clearly. And also the Abraham Accords. So when he's done the Abraham Accords, it's POTUS. It's his eyes kind of go more up. So there's a different part around the eyes.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah.
So just so I get so if say there's one human that's T, would the Galactic Federate, would there be an agreement with these off-world entities that are good to maybe embody him and be him in certain times? Does that make sense?
Maybe, but also it's a really good point, Bryce, because I've looked at some old videos of footage of Trump, and there's parts where you can see the one with the kind of upturned eyes and the others with the smiley eyes, and I've seen that kind of 25, 30 years ago.
Right.
And I'm wondering if there was two, because the other thing about Trump is he's actually a Gemini, which is a twin.
Yeah.
JFK is a Gemini at the beginning and end of May. He's a twin as well. So you can think on that. But the other thing, which is really interesting, is if you do the numbers on World Trade Center. So back in 2001, people called it the Twin Towers, but quite often, I guess the technical name, it used to be called the World Trade Center, not World Trade Centers. People kind of added that because there's the two, but it was one. It was one, but it was two pillars. It was two entities, but one. And the reason that's so significant is if you do the numbers on World Trade Center, it comes to 185, which comes to Donald John Trump. And so they're telling us even then that it's one entity, but there were two of them, and the Dark Hats took that down back in 2001. But then you've got things just across the water. You've got Statue of Liberty. Statue of Liberty comes to 198, which comes to resurrection. The resurrection comes to President Trump, and even the word liberty comes to 91, which comes to Space Force, which comes to POTUS. And so they're all there, through them. You can see it, and it's like they're telling us, but like Janine says, they don't tell the public. You kind of have to really look and kind of understand it. And a lot of people, it would just poo-poo it, and that's okay. But
so can we get more clarity on that?
It's there,
Like would it be him being able to replicate himself in a sense?
Okay. Can I just say what I was getting while Tom was talking there?
Yeah.
I was getting an impression that it has something to do with how long he works, how many hours. They needed to have a continuum he literally could be working 24/7 and was known to supposedly do that. But I have a feeling it had something to do with them working these two entities. So maybe his consciousness, because think about it, if they're going to Mars, if they've got, if the stuff we're finding out is true, it could be and if you think about what all the bad guys are doing and have been doing, if you think about those in it, like where they bring all the Hollywood stars, just their consciousness into clones in these cloning centers. Like this guy was divulging for years. He's been talking about it.
Yeah.
Daniel, or I can't remember his name, but he has all these videos out about that, and a lot of other people are backing that up. It's just crazy what can happen. They could have walked his consciousness into another entity, like what Bryce was putting together there. So let's have a look, just see if we can get any more clarity on it, if the universe wants to divulge that.
And you can do that.
Pretty wild, right?
Yeah, it's wild. It is.
Yeah.
And you talk about the consciousness. You can do that. There's a technique called surrogation that people use. So you can do things on behalf of others. Psych K is a method of doing certain things for beliefs. That's kind of partly where I got my name for my channel from, because I did that a year before. So I understood the thing of surrogation and being able to do it for other people. And so the whole thing of clones and 2 entities or 4 entities, it made more sense.
Okay, so I'm getting that we're not going to get to know for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it says for practical reasons, we're going to withhold.
Yeah.
That's a withhold. Practical reasons, practical, and also to do with just humans aren't ready, maybe.
Right.
Surrender in the middle. Humans aren't ready because, like I was telling my son yesterday, he says, why don't I do something on flat earth and versus, and I'm like, you know what? Okay, our whole world history of mankind and what we thought was our politicians, our world leaders, and the Vatican, and who we thought the royal families were, and what we thought about the world. I mean, some of us were onto some of this anyway, but has all been flipped. Okay, and our whole history, we got to find out who we really are as humans. We thought we had it all nailed. We don't have it even remotely. We have no clue actually. And then, Megan Rose is channeling all of this cool stuff, which I love that. And I love all the people, lots of really great people channeling all this stuff. We're realizing that our Bible's been totally turned upside down and completely taken to shreds, which is maybe why I never felt attracted to reading one single word in it. Do you know what I mean? But people are finding and piecing together the truth of that it's actually a great guide, actually, if you could put the parts that are missing together, blah, blah, blah. So there's all of this stuff going on. Okay, we don't need to go down the rabbit hole of, do we have a flat earth or a round earth? And what we got, remember, Tom, you asked me that a couple of sessions ago, and we right at the end there, and I've never talked about it on my channel because it's going to be too much for everybody. But it's all in like what we decide as a conscious is what kind of the short and long of what we got there. It was fascinating. But that's what I'm getting here is we're not ready to know this one yet. So just hold off on getting too nitty gritty about it.
Right. Well, I was thinking too, and in yoga, there are people that we are conditioned to believe that our bodies are solid masses and that's it. But people can levitate. There's pictures of people being able to change. And I've talked about shape shifting on my channel. I do believe the RH negative has that ability. I myself am RH negative. And I was thinking about that, the whole shape shifting thing. I'm going to be honest with you guys. If we could change by using our consciousness, manipulate our matter. I was I don't think I would shapeshift into another species. I'd probably shapeshift myself into a 6-pack and some longer legs or something. That'd be the first thing I would learn. So yeah, you're right. We have to almost view ourselves as children again, that we're having, you're not going to tell a 5-year-old, you're not going to teach a 5-year-old calculus, right? You got to allow the child to grow and mature. So that is a really good point. To all
levitate's a good word, Bryce, because that comes to 94, which is John. I did that a couple of days ago, so it's cool that you brought that up. One other concluding question on that theme, Janine, if we could ask is so I've had people that I talk with and they tell me things, they channel or get impressions about things in regards to the spirit world. And I know you've mentioned the spirit world a few times, and you asked the spirit world when you do the cards. So, like I said a few moments ago, spirit comes to 91, which is POTUS, comes to Space Force. World is 72, which is money. I think it's even the word channel. I might be incorrect on channel, so if I'm incorrect, then apologies. But it comes to the word money, comes to Monday. But my question is, I've been told that even in the spirit world, there's a battle going on. Is that what are the cards saying in regards to that? Is there a battle, or are they just kind of watching and letting us play it out, or is there something going? I've been told clearly from a few people. Miss Moneypenny mentioned that to me, and we were talking to Tiffany yesterday, Bryce's friend. So, is there a battle going on in the spirit world currently right now?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So they're fighting the demons on that level.
Okay.
So they're fighting the demons on that level, and this is all karmic and meant to be right now. So it's so above, so below.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
it's a mirror, like there's a mirror thing going on that's just a different version of what we're experiencing.
Okay.
What we're experiencing is probably nothing compared to what they're experiencing in their realm. So I imagine those battles are probably way above human heads. So
But I'm getting, it's actually interesting, and I've been getting this for a while, but I feel like we're getting the message that it's already been won. It's already been won. They're just tidying up the loose ends.
Okay.
I think we're way behind. I think it's already been won on the level, all the levels, and we're literally just tidying up loose ends and they're allowing us to it all to sink in, so we can get some level of understanding.
So both in the spirit world and here on the earth plane,
yeah,
both have been won, and now it's tidying up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just literally like now the humans are just getting let in on it. I feel like they've been doing this for a long time.
Mhm.
This has been going on for a long time, and we're just, so this is the winning card, right? So it's a victory. They had the victory already, and there's just the fallout, because everybody's going to have to know that a lot of what their belief systems were, a lot of their like, think about it. Think about this. A year ago, I would have never even said the word Hillary Clinton on a video.
Mhm.
A year, because I would have been unconsciously, I knew her people will come after me. A year ago, I would have never, or a year and a half ago, I would have never been calling out Beyonce, Jay-Z, like for who they really are. And I really I even did a video on past life Beyonce because I liked her. Okay. But she was taken over, and she literally channels demons. Well, I don't think she might be off the earth plane by now, but so that's what kind of full circle I've come. You can find a video in my videos on me saying how much I liked her music. Okay.
Yeah.
Beyonce. Now there's videos surfacing where her face turns into a demon, and she channels this energy when she sings. And oh yeah, she does. We're going to be talking about that on Deep Dive Friday, Ashley and I. All the singers that have said they channeled. Now we're all talking about them, and I don't feel a bit afraid that I'm going to get a lawsuit, or the guys in gray from the royal family are going to come. But when I first started talking about the royals, and I was getting all the yucky stuff about them, I used to worry about those dark suited M16 guys coming to my door. I don't even worry about it. Doesn't feel like a problem energetically. And I'm pretty good at figuring out if I'm going to have a problem or not, because they lost, you guys.
They have no power.
Yeah.
They got cut.
You talked about you mentioned there the royals, Janine, and Bryce and I did that episode yesterday that you've seen, and you were mentioned in it, not numerically. Bryce was, I was, Ivanka Trump was, Q was. But what are the cards saying? So the main message was, if those that haven't watched it, have a look on Esoteric Atlanta and Sight Club, those channels. We've got the episode.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was amazing. And so what happened was, on Saturday, the optics of the funeral, whether that was live or filmed a long time ago, I think it might have been a while ago, but one of the reverends, one of the bishops, misspoke towards the end of the ceremony, and he said have cam completed. He meant to say have completed, and he said he's tripped up and he said cam completed, and when you do the numbers on cam, CAM, comes to 17.
there. And
Okay.
then this card says truth too. So this guy's full of truth if he's well aspected. He's totally honest and speaking truth. I think it's saying you are. I think that's what the universe wants. You are right, Tom.
Okay.
You're
Well,
right.
thank you,
You got
Jen.
it. You got the
Thank you.
signal. There's
We
a
got it.
lot of, yeah, I bet there's like in everything that throughout the whole funeral, there was nothing but signals.
Oh God.
Like
I didn't
nothing
even
but-
watch. You know, the fun, I was telling Tom, like we were out on Saturday and we're pretty open here in Georgia. Everywhere we went, there were TVs on. Nobody had it on the funeral. Like nobody here in Atlanta seemed to even notice that that was going on. So you're already seeing this, a bit of this disconnect, even with the normies from this family, you know, and
I'm a Canadian and they're what, you know, like we're supposed to be sort of, we're part of the Commonwealth or whatever. Okay. And some, an elderly or well, no, not elderly, like probably a 65-year-old woman was bringing through my groceries. Really nice lady, by the way. I think it was, I can't remember, a grocery store anyway. And there was a couple of people behind me and she asked me if I'd watched Philip get, and she didn't call him Prince Philip, interesting. She just said Philip get, you know, the funeral or whatever. She was all in reverence, you know. And I said, and I got an Aries rising, so I'll just blurt stuff out. If anyone's ever gotten a rude email from me because they pushed my buttons, like I can be really right from the hip and I should think about it first. But anyway, so I just said, why on earth would I watch a pedophile be buried? Excuse my, you know, you might have to take that out, but a child abuser. Like, why would I care or watch a funeral that's all a bunch of fake, it's a fake family. I just blurted everything I've been saying for a year and a half about the whole family. And I said, like, I wonder if the 10 kids that were stolen out of Canada from that residential school, I just spilled everything I know about it in a sentence, like a really long rambling sentence. A poor lady was just flabbergasted, hadn't heard any of that, I'm pretty sure. But two people behind me were clapping.
Really?
awesome.
By the time I was done my monologue, there was two younger people, like 20s, maybe a couple, late 20s, clapping.
Awesome. People
they
are
know,
waking up. They're waking up.
Yeah, they
That
are. And it's acceptable to talk about creeps when they're creeps. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Maybe one last question to wrap up is something that I've been thinking about. And I know I've had a lot of people on our side of the board that are awake, that are feeling really depressed because they feel like their friends who are asleep are never going to see the truth and they're always going to be made fun of and distanced. Is there going to come a time where we are going to be vindicated by the people that think we're crazy?
Oh, that feels close to home. Okay.
The people who've tried to cancel us.
Yeah. You know it.
Oh, I do.
Oh, we're really close to the end. There's the ending card. Now these two just reversed and things are starting to move in a more positive direction. I've already seen it with those two clapping. It was already something, you know what I mean? Usually when I go on a rant like that in like a grocery store, which I do tend to do occasionally, right? That I don't get that kind of response. Okay. I usually get just weird looks and, get the heck out of the store looks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, so it's starting. So that this is a page, it's beginning. Notice how these are all wands, fresh new energy with wands.
Yeah.
So it's beginning. So it's at the end of the hard part, and so this ends hardship. This card, you can't go past a 10 in tarot, and things start going the other way now. So they're going to start, and rather quickly. This card's a really quick card. When things topple over, it goes really fast. Think about it, that 100th monkey theory.
Yep.
When the 100th person wakes up, I mean, that, that's a metaphor for, you know what I mean? It'll be like a huge mass avalanche of waking is what I think. Yes. So then that was in the middle. Another wand card. These are all wands. That's crazy. But wands are about integrity. Wands are about new energy. Wands are about refreshing spirit, right? So these are really good. So that's a victory card. So yeah, we'll have a victory.
So for our friends watching, keep your spirits high. It's okay.
in the next year, so it could take time to really have the big effect we want, but in the next year, we're going to be the go-to on some level. We're the news, which I think has already started.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll say I have my defund the media on today because we need those suckers defunded and kicked out, and we need to give Tom a network and Janine a network and let them be the new
It's
anchors.
all going to be worth our weight, because this card, see how, okay, everybody, they don't like this card, but the person's in a yoga position and becomes enlightened. That's what the halo means in the paintings, the halo, enlightenment. We become enlightened through waiting, watching, learning, and assimilating knowledge, and waiting and understand. The wait will be worth it, is what that says. It's going to be worth all the hard work. And you know what? Charlie Ward said that all along. And I know there's a lot of controversy about him, but I got a good feeling that his original messages were right on. And he's kind of just says the same thing, actually, over and over. And he sticks to it, though. His original message was, this is all going to be worth it. It's all a movie. Like he's always saying that. And I buy that 100%. I'm on to that. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love my buddy Charlie. He's really,
I like him.
I love Charlie. He's a great guy. We have to get you on the show. Just before wrapping up, there's two things I just wanted to, just two questions on the cards. Yeah. Just about 3 or 4 minutes ago, you said hard part, but I think people can play it back, but I think you did a misspeak, a divine misspeak, and I think you said park, P-A-R-K. Now it might have been your accent, I might have misheard it, but I've just done the numbers on it. So the word park comes to 46. President Trump's born in 46. And if it takes you to part would be another, what would that be? It would be 9. So take you to 55. So 55 plus 46 would take you to, what would that take you to now? I'm doing it in my head, but so 40, should know this. Yeah, 46 plus 55 is part, right? P-A-R-T. Sorry, 56 plus 46. That's it. I got that. Yeah. Comes to 102. That comes to that actually comes to Charlie Ward.
Wow.
So yeah, so that if that's the case, if that misspeak was the case, it comes to Charlie Ward. Also comes to 1,000, also comes to Suez Canal. So maybe something on Suez Canal very shortly. But just before we go, at the weekend, you'd have probably seen it, but the actor Jim Caviezel spoke at that conference in Tulsa. And that was like another shot around the world, because he talked about that chemical substance, like you say, the A substance. And that must have woken up tens of millions of people, because it was featured all over the internet and all over the newspapers and all around the world. And so my question is in terms of that, because on the surface, that looks like the actor, and I've heard, he's a great person, Jim Caviezel, he's a patriot. And he, that looks like you could be kind of almost sacrificing your career because of that, On the surface, it'd be like, well, they won't hire him now to do movies because he's basically pointing the finger at all of them. But when you look at the flip side of it, industry is going to be changed and flipped. How long until Hollywood is good? And also, a specific question, that movie that he's talking about, Sound of Freedom, which comes to 160, which actually, when you break it down, comes to Trump money. So perhaps President Trump and the good guys will finance that and get that out into cinemas. How long until we see Sound of Freedom in cinemas as a global hit?
Okay, so while you were talking, I was looking at him coming out like that. So it was super brave of him. That's a really brave part. That guy's brave. And he was brave. Putting his career on the line, but he didn't really care, because it's a long-held secret that he needed to. So there's going to be some discomfort around it, but for a very short time. This is a minor arcana. So he's a major arcana, and he's talking about a major held long, like years of secretive, cult behavior going on. He's talking about he's brave enough. Okay, so over time, it'll take time, it says, but the timing is perfect. So he timed it because they're ready to hear it. People are ready. It's right on that tipping point. And we're on the tipping point. And then the near future was this card. So this is the alliance. It's going to really help these guys and their work be credible. And so the next thing that might happen is we get to hear, really, the rest of the world gets to hear, because we've been hearing about it, what these alliance have been doing for years in the background, cleaning out the dumbs, rescuing people, trafficked people, in particular children, just a horrifying. That's next.
Good night, everybody.
What I think. Yeah.
So that's next. Okay.
Good.
Okay.
That's gonna.
I just double checked, actually. Sorry, ladies. I just double checked the misspeak I thought I heard actually comes to 101, which comes to Melchizedek. So I don't know. I may not have even misheard it correctly, Will. But anyway, it also comes to system, maybe the financial system, the quantum system. So, but And was there any more details about this? So you're saying that the stuff about dumbs and all that's going to come out, Janine, and then after that, once we've got a clear playing field, things like The Sound of Freedom and other good movies and the whole entertainment issue will be a good thing from there moving on.
So we're going to look right at that movie and see.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like it's coming out officially in June.
Nice.
And somebody might, and this has been my JFK Jr. card, but I don't know, or somebody who channels JFK Jr. or, there's so many weird things going on. We don't know exactly how that happens, but JFK Jr. or somebody with those kind of credentials is I think, going to present it or be at the opening of it, or to somehow somebody with a lot of credentials, and a lot of people will wake up because of what they say, is going to somehow lead the way with the movie somehow.
Amazing.
Wow.
So the Knight of Cups. So the Queen of Swords. Okay, that'll, by fall, so many people have seen it, and it's become like, right now, we can't fathom all of those people knowing that what we know is true is true. Oh, so many people will know by fall.
Wow.
So many people will know by September.
Amazing.
And they've just seen that movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the good guys are using all the technique of the bad guys to take these guys down. They studied the techniques for years, and they're taking them down with their same brainwashing, only they're doing reverse and putting it out in movies and putting it out in drips and drabs. And they're planting it in, theatrics, like the George Floyd thing. They're in charge of all of this stuff in the background.
Wow.
Yep.
So what a patriot Jim Caviezel was doing that, stepping up. I actually did, interesting, I looked at his numbers, and some of his numbers come to, if you do Jim Caviezel, it comes to 115, so Jim is 32. Caviezel is 83, which is Mount. It's also election, so we might see some things on that soon, but add them together comes to 115, which comes to domino effect. So perhaps he was one of the dominoes to push it over. Also, just simply love God, and I hear he's a great Christian, a man of God and loves God.
Jesus. Did he play
Jesus?
He
He played Jesus, yeah. And and also Passover as well. Passover. So we had that, in things just a few weeks ago. So that came up, and kaleidoscope as well. Maybe we'll start seeing comms on a kaleidoscope, because kaleidoscope, as we go through this journey and more of the world, physically here, spiritually, consciously, the spirit, it all kind of, it's like this never-ending kaleidoscope of discovery. So, wow, amazing. Thank you, Janine. That's really brilliant. Thank you, Bryce. Incredible.
Of course. Thank you both so much. We'll schedule something again soon. This week is crazy for everybody all over the world. I mean, good stuff for us. I mean, for the normies, they're probably terrified, but everybody who's in a city, I did see a tweet last night that said, if you're in a city, leave. We're not leaving Atlanta, but just make sure, especially for those in America, make sure that you are protected, because we don't know what the last remaining players of the other side of the board are going to do because of this situation we have with George Floyd. But we know that the best is yet to come, and we were put here for a reason, and we are going to see this timeline shift. So thank you again to Tom and Janine. Their channels will be down in the description box below, guys. So if you are not subscribed to Tom or Janine, please go ahead and subscribe to them. I know most of you are, because I get emails constantly asking when the two of you are going to be back on again. So, and they will be back, guys. So thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day, everybody.